if you're in your 50s, your 60s, you can still do whatever you want to do, right? It doesn't
Yes.
matter how old you are.
Yes.
I'm walking, talking proof here. Also, though, if you're in your 30s, your 40s, and you're like, "Ooh, I want to do this," you could also do that if you slow down. You cannot do big things if you don't slow down.
Hello, amazing humans, and welcome to episode number 280 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Today, we're tackling that ever-pesky, always present feeling of overwhelm. If you are somebody who, I don't know, carries a baby on your hip, is on the way to the grocery store, just finished at the gym, and you're on a business call, this is the podcast episode for you. We've all been there. We've all done it, and it doesn't feel good. But when we live in such a hustle society, what the heck are you supposed to do about it? The to-do list keeps growing, everything keeps happening, and you can just that hamster wheel feeling, right? Of just like, what the heck am I supposed to do? If that is you, if that's ever you, maybe that's you on Monday, but not on Tuesday. I know what you're saying. But you are going to love today's podcast episode. I got to sit down with Kim Rogne, and she's a high performance coach, and she specializes in supporting working moms. Sweet spot for me as well. And I think what's so beautiful about the way that Kim approaches this work is she really talks about the phase of life that you're in, understanding what that phase brings to your life, what you can and cannot do while you're in that phase, but also remembering that that phase ends. There will be a new one and things will continue to change. So to stop and actually focus on what is possible for today instead of putting all of the pressures on yourself that we normally do. Kim Rogne is a speaker, executive business coach, investor, and number one best-selling author. She spent 25 years in real estate sales, brokerage management, and recruiting in Southwest Wisconsin. She's worked with more than 1,000 business owners from entry level through the sale of business. She was the CEO of a multi-million dollar brokerage filled with hundreds of independent business owners, all of them with their own unique needs. Kim and her husband live in an energy filled condo overlooking the river in historic Milwaukee. You're going to love getting to know Kim today because when she's one of those people, that you're around that kind of soothes you and you're immediately like, oh, I can do stuff. Sort of calming feeling, right? You're going to really enjoy that. But she's also got some very practical, tangible things that you can take from this episode. And I also highly encourage you to download her For the Love of Self journal, which she offers for free so that you can try out some of the techniques she discusses in this podcast. So get ready to kiss overwhelm goodbye, pop in those earphones, and let's get to it. Kim, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Boy, am I happy to tackle all things overwhelm today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So we are diving into the myths of overwhelm, the power of self-love, and a lot of
Mm,
mindset shifts that we can go through when, what I had to say, the invisible unpaid work that women end up doing, the overwhelm we feel
hmm
at work, the underpaid, the overperforming, all the things, right? I can't wait to jump into this. But before we do, out of all the things that Kim could have chosen to do on planet Earth today, why, out of all those things, is this what you've chosen to do with your life?
Yeah, I love that question. And as much as I wanted to be J-Lo, it just wasn't going to happen. So,
Best answer ever, right here. You just
right.
heard it.
Can't sing, can't dance, but whatever. Okay.
But you look good. You look just like her. I don't know.
Yeah. So, um, this comes with a little bit of a story. So, I started my business for the love of 2 years ago. Prior to that, I was in a broker management role. I broker managed multiple real estate brokerages, very high level.
Okay.
Um, and I honestly, we could probably talk about this for hours. I was burnt out. I was knocking on the door of age 50. I had a traumatic skiing accident
Mm,
that forced me to slow down. And I really took some reflection time to think, okay, what am I really good at? What do I like to do? What do I want to do with the second half of my best life? And I knew coaching or speaking, I knew that would be part of it. I just didn't really know what it would look like. And to be really honest, if she's listening, a friend came up to me. Her name is Janine Warner. I happened to be at a convention and she said, "Hey, girl, what are you going to do?" Because I had given a 2 month notice and I didn't quite know yet. I just knew I would figure it out.
hmm
And I said, "Well, I think I might, start coaching. I might, hook up with another coaching company. I might get certified here. I might do this. I don't really know. Or maybe I'll start my own business." And for whatever reason, I was really scared to go and start my own business. And she
hmm
said, "You want to know what? I'd pay you to coach me." And
Oh,
when she said that, it was like, bing, I'm going to
Yeah.
go start my own business.
Yep.
And so, as much as I coach and I teach and I've written about mindset, I don't always have my own mindset in check. And hearing it from somebody else helped me cross that bridge. And that's when I went and did it. And 2 years ago, I started For the Love of, which is a personal and professional development company where I'm a high performance coach. I'm a keynote speaker and now a number one author of For the Love of Self.
Oh my gosh, I love this story.
Yeah.
Kim, come on. And I love the honesty too. I think sometimes as coaches, people want to put coaches on pedestals or coaches want to be put on pedestals. I'm not sure, let's be honest, right? But I love the shared humanity in that story. And I
Hmm.
think it's one of the reasons I always have a coach too. I always have a coach
Yeah,
because
me too.
we can't see our own stuff, right? I
Hmm.
mean, how many times have you been with a friend where you're like, if you didn't act so jealous, maybe the relationship would go better. And they're like,
Right.
maybe you can come away with me for the weekend. And they're like, are you crazy? I'd never leave them alone for a weekend. You're like, oh boy. Right. It's like, and I'm using that in jest, but it's really
Yeah.
interesting how we just cannot see our own stuff. And it's so beautiful. Thank you to your friend forever.
Hmm.
When our friends can reflect back to us actually what we really are good at.
Hmm.
And it's really important to have those moments. But
Hmm.
so I just want to acknowledge you though, too. It's so cool that you jumped on it. Like you could have heard that and been like, it's fine. But
Yeah.
that you actually were like, wait a minute, she just said something that's valuable for me to take as a person and look at my
Hmm.
next steps. I think
Hmm.
that's really powerful. And not everybody does that?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So when we're looking at this, so you're a high performance coach, we're looking at
Hmm.
personal and professional development. Um, why do you think we are all so prone to overwhelm versus thriving? Like, what is
Yeah.
happening there? And what can we do if someone's listening and they're like, they got a baby in one hand, they're driving a car, they're
Mm.
going to the gym, they're like, they've got groceries in the back, and they're like on a work call, right? It's like, oh my God. So somebody's listening going through that. What do
Yeah.
we do with this? Like, this is madness.
Yeah, that's so good. And definitely speaking to the working mom, because that is what I focus on. Um, I know what it feels like. My kids are now, well, they're semi-adulting. Some of them are still on our insurance, all that stuff.
I do.
Um,
Yes, I know well.
they're 21 and 23, but I do vividly remember I've been married to my groom for 27 years, but he was a firefighter and he worked 24, 36, 96 hours. So I first of all know what it feels like to be a single mom because a third of the year I was single. I know what it feels like to be working and have a
Mm.
passion for your work because I always did have a passion for my work, and that made me a whole person and a better mom, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Um, and then now, when we talk about today, I don't know exactly what it feels like today with the overload of technology and social media, right? Because my kids were a little older when that came in, but I know what that feels like in
Yeah.
running a business and in your world.
Hmm.
And I think, first of all, overwhelm is, I believe, and what I've experienced, it's based on choices. It's based
Mm.
on us having this really high standard up here, naturally comparing ourselves to others.
Of
Um,
course. Yeah.
and also we're all in different phases. So I'm in a very different phase right now. I can get up at 5:30 and have peace and journal and read and whatever. But I couldn't have done that when my kids were babies,
Mhm.
right? I would have to go maybe find peace somewhere else at a different time. I think it's also acknowledging that as working moms, working women,
Yes.
we go through phases. We're in very different
Mm.
phases and we get overwhelmed. If there is a 27-year-old that's listening who has itty bitties, a 30-year-old that has itty bitties, and they're trying to compare themselves with me when I'm posting, here I am at 5:15 and I'm journaling and ooh, I'm sipping my coffee. Like, let's be real, your coffee is never going to be sipped and be hot at the same time. And so I think it's really just taking a step back and asking the question, what can I do
Oh,
right now based on the phase of my life that I am in
mm,
without comparison?
huge. Wow. I just felt my own
That's,
shoulders drop. I mean,
yeah.
you just took me back down memory lane, Kim. Like because I launched this business when I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter. 0 stars. Do not recommend. That was really hard, right? Like, oh my gosh, that took something. I wouldn't change it obviously now because it's where I am. I was able
Right.
to get where I am now. But I remember those days I woke up at 4 a.m. for probably 3 years just so I could have an hour and a half before the house woke up to work without interruption or without having to take someone else into consideration. And boy, was that a tough phase. And I think, God, I would have really loved to have someone like you telling me, like, yo, whoa, this is just a phase. First of all, like there will be an end. Because I think sometimes when you're in your own phase, you don't
Mm,
recognize that it will end
mm-hmm.
soon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So have somebody just say it's not always going to be like this, right? You're going to be
Right.
able to get up at 7 and have the house be quiet. It's going to be
Right.
okay, right? Like
Right.
it's going to happen. I swear to God, one day. I would have loved that if someone had told me that. But yeah, that idea that when you're not alone, because if you're in a different phase from someone else you're watching, there are probably people in your phase as well. And I think that's a really important thing to note too. But I really appreciate you saying that because I think I compared myself to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah,
all do. I mean, I
yeah,
do. Well, I mean, how can we not? And as
yeah.
women, I think we do it even more. And just wait till Perry visits you and then menopause and then forget it. Then it's really like, wait, what's happening here?
Yes. Thank
Right?
you,
And
doctors, for all the
so,
medicine. Yes, keep going.
so that is so good.
Yeah,
And it's also recognizing I do coach some, newer moms, first time moms, even my social media director. I went through hiring her. She wasn't pregnant. She got pregnant. Now she has a 1 year old and she
yeah.
also runs her own business. And I went through those phases with her and she does get up early in the morning, but it's also her choice, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And so it's also owning your choices, right? It's like it's deciding, okay, what am I going to choose? Right? Like you said, getting up early, maybe you would, in retrospect, maybe you would do it a little differently, but that's called growth when we
Mhm.
look backwards and ahead and say, okay, what would I change? And so on. And we're never perfect. It's just
No.
about progress. And it's also choosing, and I think too, we're in such a hustle society. And I know
Oh,
I've even heard some of your guests speak about that is
yeah.
allowing yourself some rest. Like we're not robots. I say that to my clients all the time. I'm like, come on. Like you
Mm.
can't go, go, go all the time. And it's
Mhm.
really recognizing when to have that downtime. At the beginning, when you asked, what I would have done and what got me here, when I had that skiing accident,
Mm.
which happened in Breckenridge, Colorado, and I broke my tibia and my fibia and shattered my ankle,
Oh my gosh. Ow.
a
I'm so
couple of
sorry.
things. I mean, I got a nice
Mm.
rod and screws, and it's all good now. It's no big deal. Got some nice hardware, but I haven't skied yet. Again, I'll be honest. I don't know if I'll be back to that. You're 5'7", 150 pounds. Just
Call
DM
me.
me.
You're so funny.
But anyway, first of all, I remember looking back, and I was the CEO of a large brokerage, and in 7 days, laid up, I
Mm.
was on a Zoom. It was almost like my body and my
Mm.
nervous system did not know how to live outside of chaos, if that makes sense,
Yep.
outside of frenzy and overwhelm. When we talk about overwhelm, like it's like I didn't know how to function. It's kind of like when
Mm.
you go to your teenagers and you pull the phone out of their hand and they don't even know how to sit in the waiting room at a doctor's office without the phone. We
Right.
don't even, as adults, sometimes don't even know how to do that. It's
Correct.
like I didn't know what to do, and I was working, 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 and then eventually I had to go to the investors after trying to work. When my surgeon was like, "You have to understand, you had a traumatic accident."
Right.
My surgeon kept saying that to me, but it took weeks, and then all of a sudden it was like I had this slow down and I went to the investors. I said, I think I need a leave of absence. I
Yeah.
probably should have done it in the beginning, but I didn't because I didn't know what to do.
We also
And
didn't know what to
so,
expect either. I mean, you got to give
right,
yourself some grace around that because how could you know? Yeah.
right. And I was forced to slow down.
Mm. Mm.
And that is when I had introspective time. And that's when I really took a deep dive into pulling out my aniogram and my disc. And I mean, I don't know, all my things, right?
Yes. Yes.
Of like, who am I? Right? Like, what
Mhm.
am I actually naturally good at? And that's just what unraveled the layers, if you will, to get me to where I am today. But then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what if, and this year I'm going to be 52, but what if when I was like 42, I decided to
Oh,
have a mini slowdown once in a while?
could you
I mean,
imagine?
my gosh,
I
I would
know.
probably have the number one personal and professional development company right now,
You're like,
right?
hi,
Like, move
I'm
over,
Kim.
Brendan
Yeah.
Bashar. Kim Rogne's moved in. I'm just saying, like, so for anybody who's listening, like, first of all, if you're in your 50s, your 60s, you can still do whatever you want to do, right? It doesn't
Yes.
matter how old you are.
Yes.
I'm walking, talking proof here. Also, though, if you're in your 30s, your 40s, and you're like, "Ooh, I want to do this," you could also do that if you slow down. You
I
cannot do big things if you don't slow down.
preach on it, sister. You know, it's interesting. This year I've hired a nervous system coach, which is like the coolest
Oh,
thing
I'm so
ever.
jealous.
5 stars,
Yes.
do recommend, by the way. So good. And one of the things we've talked about that I love really along the lines of what you're saying is I love to lift heavy weights, right? It's just, I just feel so good. I really love the exercise of it as a woman, muscle, all
Hmm.
the jazz, right? Love it. And she said, "What word do we need to use for you for rest?" And I said, "Well, rest, it's fine. And I get the importance, I do. But for me, it was the word recovery." I was like,
Mm,
"Oh my gosh, I would never work my biceps 2 days in a row. I would never do that because they can't, it's going to hurt them. It's not going to benefit them." And I was like, I have to call it recovery time. If I call it recovery time, I'll rest and slow down. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. So I really love what you're saying. And for anybody listening, they're like, I can't rest, I can't stop. Oh my God. What do you need to call it so that it just makes sense for you to do it? I do think that's so critical. And I love the idea of you want to go far, slow down. It's so
yeah.
counterintuitive in this white
Yes.
patriarchal world we live in of like, go, go, hustle, hustle.
Yes.
And all that does is lead to burnout and like weak muscles, right? If I were to do that to my biceps every day, they wouldn't work anymore. It would not, and I'd hurt my joints. And like there'd be a whole other, oh, that like the ripple effect would just be horrific. And I
Yeah.
think, sort of rephrasing it for ourselves that way can be so helpful because our freaking society has told us rest means we're lazy,
That's so true, Sarah.
you know?
And I thought that was like, I'm like, is that because of my generation? It's like, I grew up where my parents were like, work, 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 work hard equals success,
Yes.
and we never talked about rest. And
Right.
I love that idea though of coming up with the term that makes sense to you, the recovery, the reboot, the whatever it is you choose, right?
Hmm.
And then also I think too deciding what that means to you. So like
Yes.
when I think about recovery for me, it's I like, I'm a yogi. I practice yoga 5 days a week. It would be going to yoga. It would be walking in nature. It would be reading. Like I probably still would be filling my brain with something growth related. People always say to me, like, "Oh, Kim, do you read anything for fun?" I do now because I'm in a book club. So I'll be
Good.
like, yeah,
Good
okay,
job.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
read some fiction. But otherwise, I'm all like, get out the highlighters and get out the pens and let's learn something.
Yeah.
But that's also recovery for me. And so I
Mhm.
think it's really, there is no wrong or right. It's
Yes.
figuring out what works for you. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. And I have to tell you this, I had two coaching clients this year. I was so proud of them. They both took off a month each. One of them went to
Wow.
Italy for a month, and she runs a
Goodness.
very, very big business.
Good for
Big
her. God.
business. And I was just like, yes. First of all, A, you learned that your business survived without you.
Yes.
And
Huge.
B, look what that did to you. Look what that
Mhm.
gave you, right? And now you can come back in 2025 and you're all recharged. And now,
Yes.
now let's go find a month in 2025. I was like, let's hit repeat on that
Yes.
activity.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. It's funny when I do that with clients, right? Because they're running their own businesses as well, is they end up having a better year financially. And it's like, isn't that
Yes.
interesting? It's almost like we make space for more things to come in.
Yeah.
It's like when
Right.
we're so jammed in, there's like no room for anything to happen because it's just so frenetic. And I think there's really power in that. And I almost consider it. I'd love to know what you think of this, Kim, but I kind of consider it the feminine way to run your life because we create space. I mean, isn't that what we do for our children? They come home into
Mhm.
our house and this is where they're safe. This is
Mm.
where they can breathe. This is where they can say today sucked. This is where they can just come in and be. And I think that's another reason I value coaching because coaching provides that space. Just breathe for a sec. Just be with me. It's okay. And I think when we can create space, it's a much more feminine way to go about business. It's not the hustle, 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 hustle
Hmm.
that got incorporated into running your life because it was all of those structures were built by men. And it
Hmm.
works for men really
Hmm.
well. Not all the time. They need to slow down too, but that is a little bit more of a natural inclination and it doesn't
Hmm.
work. And I
Yeah.
think it's all coming back to what you said at the very beginning, I think, which is just what phase are you in?
Right.
What are you in right now?
Yep.
Forget what everybody else is doing. What do you,
Right.
yeah, so
What
good.
can you do now? I mean, we're recording, and who knows when anybody's listening to this? They could be listening to it in June and it's beautiful outside. I'm in Wisconsin and it's like snowy and cold here right now. I got this sweater on. But I think about the holidays that we just finished, and I think, even just I love to bake, but
Mm,
baking meant something very differently when I had littles versus now, right? And either we would do it together, or I'd be like, "Oh, I have to make 10 different types of cookies." It's like, "Do you? Who says you have to do that? Like, could you just do two?" Right? It
yes.
That's another, you know, just observation of
Yeah.
allowing yourself to be okay and trust yourself when you're like, this is
Mm,
enough. I don't need
mm,
to do more.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And in a society where the constant conversation is more is better,
Right.
it's that's hard to do, right? So it's really coming home almost. It feels like how you're like really helping us come back to who we are and
Yeah.
to remember that what we can do right now matters and it's
Mm.
sufficient. And I think that's wow. I just felt myself calm down. I love that idea of just like, wait, do I have to do all five? Can I
Yeah.
do one? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hello. Pinterest never turns out. I'm sorry, but no, that's just not working out for me.
No, they nailed some dopamine hits with that sucker when they came up with the infinite stroll. I mean, was that like, oh dear God, it doesn't end. This is so great. And then it's like, oh dear God, it doesn't end. It's like
No.
there's just like the seesaw of that where it's so fun to see so much beauty. And other ways you're like, I think I've held this phone for 15 freaking minutes of beauty. I'm done now.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Pinterest. Fried our
Yeah.
brains with dopamine.
Yeah.
So good. So I know you also, I really want to talk about your journal because
Mm.
this mindset shift that we're talking about, the way that we're reframing tasks, right? Especially for women, we're taught to be so performative. We're not even allowed to have our own emotions because they make other people uncomfortable. We're
Yeah.
so performative, right? What can we flip and how does your journal help with that mindset flip?
Yes, I love this question. So here's what had happened. So on January 1st, 2023, when I started For the Love of, I committed to a couple of things. My word of the year was confidence. I was like, I got to be internally and externally just really confident about what I'm doing and where my business is going. I hired my social media director, which she's still with me. Day one, I was like, I'm going to invest in this. And then the third thing that I decided to do was daily mindset journaling. And I kind of always did it here and there. I call it inconsistently consistent.
Yeah, I love that.
You,
I
you
love
know,
that.
it's
Yeah.
like, I would go to a thing, I'd read a book, I'd listen to a podcast. I'm like, oh, I'm getting out the journal, got to get the new school supply. I love it.
Yes.
I love,
Oh,
like right now I got these new school supplies for my girls for Christmas. I'm like,
I love it.
I
Oh, I
love
love
it,
them.
right?
I know.
And
I have a
just
new set of
piles of,
gel pens. I
oh, don't even get
can't
me
stop me from
started.
using them. Love it. Yes.
So I committed to that. I was like,
Okay.
I am going to do this. So I had this tiny little pocket journal. It was probably $1 at the dollar store. And I just wrote out three entries. I actually have it right here. And so I can even look at it. I can see January 3rd, 2023. And I stole these from, I think I heard them on Hal Alrod. They're not from his Miracle Morning, but it was somebody who was interviewing.
Mm.
And the first one was, I will let go of, I'm grateful for, and I will focus. And then I would write
Ooh.
out my word of the year. So like I can see January 3rd, 2023. I will let go of comparing myself to other coaches. I am
Oh.
grateful for my beautiful home on the river that we earned. I will focus on
Mm.
scheduling the dentist appointment. And then it's so funny because I can look back and I had the dentist appointment in there week after week after week. Literally, it says, I'll focus on the freaking dentist appointment. The funny part was because I hadn't had a dentist appointment in like 2 years because I didn't go like after breaking my leg or some ridiculous thing like
Oh,
that.
I
But
see. Okay,
anyway,
it's hilarious. Okay.
So that's what I was doing, right? And so I just started sharing the story with people. And what had happened was at the end of January, I got a text from my girlfriend who is battling ALS.
Okay.
And she had said to me, "Hey, Kim, I'm looking to create a new mindset habit." And I was like, "Hey, girl, I'm doing this journaling thing. They say it's going to work. So I've committed. How about we journal each other and we take pictures of it to hold each other accountable?"
So
And the way
good.
that she would journal is she uses an eye gaze and she looks at her iPad and types the words, and I would get her heartwarming journal entries, right? And so little by little, I started sharing our story. And then somebody said to me, "You should put that in a journal." And then here's the next thing that happened, Sarah. Unsolicited, grown men in their 60s that maybe I came across or I was coaching or speaking with or whatever would send me their journal entries because I would just offer it. I'd be
Oh,
like, "Hey, feel free if it helps with you with accountability, send me a picture."
oh my God, I
Right?
love this.
It was
Really, just
like
unsolicited. They just,
unsolicited,
oh my
right? I'd be like,
God.
I just offered it. I'm like, "Here's the entries. They're working for us." And so that's what happened. And so eventually, then my sister, I'm blessed, happens to be a publisher. And so we went
Awesome.
through it, we talked about it, and we then ended up doing some more research and went away from those three journal entries and came up with our own because it was working. I was like, "Oh my gosh, they said," they, meaning all of the other people who have studied
Others.
brain science, it's
Yes.
knowing that we have 60,000 thoughts per day.
Yeah.
75% of them, Sarah, are negative naturally because your brain is built to protect you. So that means 43,000 thoughts per day are negative. And
Wow.
so if we can start with a way to be like, "Okay, girlfriend, let's, you know, battle that battle we have going up there and just try something." And so that's how For the Love of Self was built. And there's three parts to it. So the first part I would say is all about, first of all, it's not mindset related, it's setting up your week for success. It's
Okay.
what are my big rocks in my life? Okay.
Mhm.
And I said life.
Right.
We know based on Stephen Covey, and if you go and you look up the old school YouTube video of him presenting big rocks in the
Yes.
jar,
I love that
right?
video. I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Um, but we know if we do our big rocks first, then all the little pebbles and sand we can do later. But when we
Mhm.
talk about being overwhelmed, we go back to that. Sometimes we're also overwhelmed because we're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of how
Yes.
can I identify the big rocks? So that's the first section. The second section is all mindset related. And
Mm,
there's six journal prompts, and they're all to get your mindset in the right place.
got it.
We did today, I will release the 10 extra pounds that I gained over the holidays. I will
Mhm.
release the argument I had with my sister. Whatever it is, like, what is it that you need to release? Like, and maybe you got to write the same statement every day. There's no
Right.
judgment.
Yeah.
Clearly,
But
I had to
sometimes
focus.
that's good because we know
Right.
we actually really do want to let go of it, right? We didn't write it one time
Correct.
and forget. That's good. Okay.
I
Got
will
it.
take in gratitude for. We know that science tells us when we take it in, take it in. And I put prompts in there: breathe out what you're releasing, breathe in what
Mm.
you're taking in, forcing yourself not just to write and do a to-do list, like to actually feel it.
Ooh,
And
I love
then
that.
my core focus for today, like, what is your focus for today? And maybe it is putting your phone down and making eye contact with your children. Like,
Yes.
what is your focus? Maybe your core focus is, you know, not being passive aggressive with your husband. Speaking from
Mhm.
experience, I love being
I
passive
don't
aggressive.
know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally got it. Yep.
Maybe it's personal. And so those are the first three. And then the next three are today I get to, because we know when we say get to versus I have
Mm.
to, it implies an opportunity versus obligation, right? I get to go to the grocery store and pick up a rotisserie chicken because I don't know what to make for dinner for the 10th
Oh,
night in a row. Whatever. I get to pick my kids up from the soccer game. You get to, right?
I love that.
And so it's just a mind
Mm.
shift change, right? And then the next one is I am. And whether it's you put in one word or you put in the statement, right now I'm like, addicted to putting in like a future statement. Like
Mm,
I am running, a multi-million dollar business that's making a difference with a group of women, da 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 da. So you get to
mm-hmm,
decide, or maybe it's just I'm bold, I'm energetic, whatever. And then the last one is another action item. I will. And so maybe I will text my mom, I will whatever. I'll make 5 lead generation calls if I'm running a
mm-hmm,
business. And
mm-hmm.
that's it. And we timed it. I timed it. It's 4 minutes and like 37 seconds,
Oh my God,
maybe
that's
five
amazing.
minutes.
That's amazing.
So I challenge to just everyone that comes into my world, I'm like, just try it. And part of the reason I want people to try it is I want them to report back to me, right? It's like my
Mm-hmm,
mini little study. Like, is it working? Do you change
mm-hmm,
it? What do you do? How do you do it? Do you do it in the morning? Do you put it on your computer because you are having to get your kids off to school? Maybe before you open your computer, you take 5 minutes and you
mm-hmm.
do that. Like, what is it that you do? And
I
then the
love it.
third part of it is the end of the week reflection, just with some
Mm-hmm.
pre-journal pages and whatever. Um, I don't know. That one's really hard for me. I'm just going to be straight up honest. Like, like I don't always do that one. Sometimes I've got a grocery list on that page, but the point is it's there because we know it's almost like bookending, right? We're going
Yes.
to start the week with our weekly setup. Then every day, work day, it's like 5 days, we're going to get our mindset right. And then we're going to end the week. We're going to bookend it with some reflection.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's just
It's
super
nice and
simple.
simple. I know. Isn't that important too, that we have that
Right.
simple, almost want to say container, right? For
Yeah.
progress. Cause that's really what it is. I love doing year-end reviews. It's one of my favorite things to do with
Yes.
clients. And this year I decided to do it as a workshop. It was wonderful. And the common comment always is, I didn't realize how much I'd done. It's like nonstop for women, isn't it? Like we just freaking keep going. We go and we go and we go and we go. And so while I haven't implemented weekly for my clients yet, or for the women in the Abundance Academy, but I really am looking at doing it quarterly. What actually got accomplished. So I'm so happy that you have that in your journal, because I think the more that we can do that, the better,
Yeah.
because I think as women, we're wired not to talk about our accomplishments.
Yes.
My joke is always like, have you ever like heard a guy talk about his parallel parking? Like, did you see the job? That was the best parallel parking. And they'll go on for 5 minutes. And meanwhile, we like painted the house, knocked something down, put it back together, and raised 3 children. We're like, I don't think I did anything today. And it's like, oh my goodness, right? So
Yeah.
I love the weekly, because that's, let's talk about the parallel parking. Come on, start acknowledging what you did this week. I think that's
Yeah.
so good, Kim. So good.
It, it's so true. Like, have you read the book, The Gap in the Gain? I
No, but it sounds like I should.
So
How have I not
good.
read that book?
So
Amazing.
good. And I love Dr. Ben Hardy, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but um because we're always living in the gap. It's like we're always naturally
Ah,
moving the horizon, and that's the whole concept of the book.
oh, I love it.
Is
Yeah.
you would love it. It's so good. So it kind of
Listen,
reminds me of that.
I love
And
it.
you're so right, because I was doing some reflection with a group of women in a group coaching session, and one of them was having a hard time. She couldn't even remember what she did all year.
I
And
know.
so luckily I take notes, and I literally was pulling up the notes and I read it back to her. I was
So
like,
good.
you forgot
Here's
about
what you did.
this. You forgot you spent time in your garden. You forgot that you went to Italy, right? And we've always got to like recognize also the personal. And I was like, did you remember that you hit your goal? You set your financial goal. Did you remember that you did that? Right? Or that you created a new habit. We do these little habit, tracking things. She forgot all of it.
Mm,
That's
mm,
living in the gap. Living in the gain is taking a moment to recognize
mm.
versus constantly pushing it, pushing it, pushing it.
I love this. I can't say enough how important this is. You're reminding me, even as I did my own year in review, I forgot my daughter had 2 surgeries I helped her with. I was like, hello. Like, what? Right. I'm the coach. And I forgot, like, this is just such human nature. And it's just part of our shared
Yeah,
humanity. And I think, given that we're trained to perform as women, that we are never done, the to-do list is never going to go anywhere, and just recognizing the truth in that, so you can breathe through it instead of panicking that you didn't finish it. You're never like, let's deal with reality. I just think that these moments are critical. So, oh my God,
yeah.
I'm so excited. So wait, we're gonna have a link to your journal underneath this video if you're watching on YouTube,
Yes,
or in the show notes if you're listening
yes,
in. So go grab it, you guys. Go
yes.
grab it. And start
Yes,
acknowledging
just
what you're doing. Yeah.
I kept it really simple. You can just go to Flow, FLO, no W, it's like for love of, flowworkingmoms.com.
Love it.
Flowworkingmoms.com. Just go download it, try it. I would love to hear how it goes. Test it. I don't know, test it for 21 days and just see if it makes a difference. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But
Well, I bet it will. I bet it
yeah,
will. I bet it will. I mean, anytime we acknowledge outwardly, right, what we want to be doing, what we want to release, what we're
yeah.
thankful for, anytime we acknowledge that outwardly, things start to shift. They can't not
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
pull yourself out of that autopilot. I love this. Okay. So I'm going to put a link to the book that you mentioned as well,
Yep.
Kim, so people can go grab that. And as we're wrapping up now, if people are like, holy cow, I need me some more Kim, where can people find you? Where's the best place for
Yes,
people to
I
go?
love that. All things Kim Rogne. Again, keeping it simple on Instagram, Kim Rogne, Rogne. You can go to kimrogne.com. Facebook, I'm Kim Rogne. LinkedIn, I'm Kim Rogne. So just whatever is your favorite platform, go find me and DM me, connect with me. I've got my calendar out there if you wanted to hop on a 30-minute Zoom and we can talk through it. I'm all yours.
I love it. I love it. Kim, thank you so much for spending time with the girlfriends today and providing a little bit of space and calm and reflection for all of us. It's so appreciated. Um, yeah, I was just say, and I want to talk to you next week again, but we can't do that. That's what I was about to say. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Oh, wait, no. All right. But it's been such a joy, Kim. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Sarah. Thank you.